Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be with you today. I think I am on. Yes. So happy to be with you here today, every Monday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I am coming to you and I will be doing these trainings over trauma and everything that goes with it. Today, I'm so excited because we're going to talk about what is trauma. We're going to debunk some myths about trauma, and I'm going to tell you why you keep repeating these patterns of self-sabotage and these patterns of the hamster wheel, right? That just keep doing the same things over and over. So if you're joining me live, let me know where you're at. I'd love to know where you're at, hashtag live or hashtag replay if you have come and watch for the replay. My name is Natalie. I run True Alignment Academy out of Houston, Texas. And I'm just beyond excited to be with y'all and to be talking about this. Because this is something that's so important. I know that I have a lot of nurses out there, but my main mission is for anyone who is a healer, anyone who is a caretaker, whatever that may look like, right? And I want to bring healing and restoration to you so that you can come from a place that is whole and with the ability to serve, right? So let's jump into it. What is trauma? Right. So I have been a nurse for almost 16 years, and the majority of my nursing, I was in trauma. So shock trauma, ICU, ER, I saw the worst of the worst. I went to the level ones, right? So my idea of trauma was, pedestrian versus motor vehicle, or thanks for joining. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Hannah, Stephanie, Lynn. So glad y'all have hopped on. My idea was of trauma is what rolled through to the trauma room, right? And so everyone's idea of trauma is like what? Rape, major accidents, burns, murder, assault, death, which we see a lot of. And yes, all of those are trauma, right? And that's no doubt that that's what trauma is. But what we don't realize is that trauma is not actually the event. Trauma is what actually happens inside of our body and how our body responds to that traumatic event. So in our heads, what we think is trauma, as rape, assault, you name the list, the equivalent of that, because it's not about the event, could be when you're 4 years old and your mom went into the hospital for a procedure, but you didn't understand it and you had that abandonment, right? And this is why trauma is so important and why it is such a focus, is because we don't think it applies to us. I didn't, but it's not about the event, right? It's about what happens in our body and who we decide we are after that, after what happens. And, my trauma was not, the rape. My trauma was not the 6-year-old that I held in the ER after an hour and a half of CPR, lifeless in my arms, right? That was not the trauma. The trauma was how I lived my life over and over again. The trauma was how I became stuck in my behaviors and what happened after that. 96% of everything that we do is because of it comes from our subconscious mind. 96% of everything that we do is from our subconscious mind. That means only 4% it comes from here, our conscious mind. You ask yourself, I don't know why I keep fill in the blank, right? I don't know why I keep getting into these toxic relationships. I don't know why I can't leave this job that I hate so much. I don't know why my finances are always upside down, right? Guess where it's coming from? The unconscious mind. right? Our unconscious mind takes care of everything from breathing to feeling safe. And if you want to create any change in your life, you're going to have to hit it at the subconscious mind. But we have to know how it works, right? We have to know how the brain works. So how does trauma show up in our lives? Through our belief systems. Okay, and I'm going to get into that more in a minute. But my brain was really, really good at creating cortisol. And many of you are healthcare workers and you understand what cortisol is, right? And the effects of cortisol. Whenever a stressful event happens or we get triggered and go right back to what that trauma created, those stress hormones come out, right? The cortisol, the fight or flight, flight, freeze, and faint response. So that we can survive, right? Our body is amazing. It allows us to, that when we see a bear, our fight or flight goes off and we are filled up with adrenaline and cortisol so that we can survive. But that's just what it does. The subconscious mind, it is here for us to survive and procreate. It's here to keep us safe, right? But that safety is where the beliefs come in. I got my notes here, y'all, but I think so I don't get too off track. So what is a belief system and how are they created? Belief system is, our beliefs are what's running our lives. Because of my trauma, my deepest belief system was I deserve to be punished. And because of that, you know, I had a support system. I had love. I had amazing things happen. I had accomplishments and reward. But I couldn't accept any of that. I couldn't accept any of the love, any of the rewards, the accomplishments, nothing, because I believed I deserved to be punished, right? So all of those things were not true. No matter what anyone told me, it was not true. And what's not true in the subconscious mind is not safe. So it all comes down to how we process information. We have to understand how the brain works. So I'm going to get into that now. So we think this is how we take on information. This blew my mind the first time I heard it. 16 years in nursing, never heard this before in my entire life. This is how we think that we take on information. We see it with our eyes, right? And it goes into our conscious mind. And that picture then goes into our subconscious mind to get filed away as a memory. That's not how it happens at all. That is not accurate. What actually happens is that we see the picture with our eyes. It bypasses our frontal lobe, and our frontal lobe, our consciousness, right? Our conscious mind is our critical factor. It's the thinking brain. It bypasses that. And it goes into our subconscious mind where it's filtered through what's called a reticular activating system. Yes, I deserve to be punished. It's a hard one. It's a harsh one. I'm going to get into some more belief systems here in just a minute. You know, not good enough. But this reticular activating system is where we house whether it's filtered through this, and this reticular activating says whether that information is actually true or not. And in this is we house our emotions, which I'm going to get into on a deeper level next week, how we process emotions. But in this, we house our emotions, we house our environmental programming, our social programming, our parental programming, our religious programming, our emotions, and our beliefs. It filters through all that, and then it deletes, distorts, and generalizes that picture, right? And only that picture that is now deleted, distorted, and generalized to match what's in this reticular activating system, only then is it brought back to the frontal lobe, to the conscious mind. And that's why I deleted all the love, all the support, all the reward and abundance around me, because it was filtered through that I deserve to be punished. It couldn't bypass that. It filtered it out. It deleted it, right? So I could never receive any of that. So what we have to do is we have to start looking at what is programmed in here. That's how we begin to start changing our lives. So how are our belief systems formed in our subconscious? 3 things have to happen. First, there has to be an outside stimulus. So you have to interact with the world or someone else or yourself. So an outside stimulus, and then there has to be a deep emotion. So that has to be coupled with a deep emotion. And after that, we decide something about ourselves, right? And when we decide something about ourselves, that becomes our belief system that then gets stored in our subconscious mind, in our reticular activating system. And then everything after that has to get filtered through that belief system. I'm not safe. Why am I even trying when everything falls apart anyways? I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy, right? People aren't safe. They'll always leave me. Like there's so many different scenarios in my life that have created these belief systems. Our job is to figure out how our brain works, because this is what governs every single thing that we do. Every single thing that we do. We have to figure out what are the influences that created these deep emotions. 2 million pieces of information come into our minds every single second. So because of that, that's a lot, right? Our brains get really, really good. Don't worry, Rachel. I'm getting to that. Why do we do this? It's on a subconscious level. And most of us don't even know, because we don't know how this works. We're doing it on an unconscious level, right? With all this information that's coming into our brain at once, we have to delete, generalize, and distort. That's what our brain does in order to take on this information. We get really, really good at that. So an example of generalizing is I'm sitting in this chair, but if there's a tree stump over there, I will make that generalization that I can use that as a sitting device because of my ability to sit in this chair. An example of deleting information is whenever, and this happens all the time, my sunglasses are on my head, I have no idea where they are. Or this one, I'm on my phone, I'm talking to someone on my phone, and I'm looking for my phone. I have no idea where my phone is. Does that ever happen to you? It happens to me all the time. Why? Because at the moment, I didn't need my sunglasses. I was inside. I didn't need my sunglasses. So my subconscious mind said, okay, we're not going to use this information right now. It's not pertinent at the moment. So I'm just going to delete that information. And guess what? When you delete it, you can't get it back. That's why I go around the house for like 20 minutes looking for my dang sunglasses when they've been sitting on my head the whole time. We do this all the time. All the time. And it happens in our unconscious mind. So I'm gonna draw this. Bear with me. I need to get this up on the wall. But I love visuals. So even right now, as you're watching me and you're looking at me, you're taking on information. All right. So you take on information with your eyes. Can you see this? I'm gonna have to flip the screen, I think. It may be backwards for y'all. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to figure out how to flip the screen. You're taking on information with your eyes. So as you're watching me, you're getting a picture. And the picture bypasses the conscious mind, right? And it goes back to the unconscious mind, and it gets filtered through this reticular activating system. And this reticular activating, what does it hold? It holds all of our programming, right? It holds our societal programming, our environmental programming, our religious programming, our parental programming, our educational programming, nurses, techs, all of that, nursing school, bedside, all of that, right? And then it also houses our beliefs, our emotions, our trauma, and the events that have happened in our lives. And so what we do is, oh, y'all see correctly? Oh, that's good. Awesome. Okay. Because I had no idea how to flip the screen, so I'm glad. So you get this picture as you're listening to me, you're getting this picture. It's being filtered currently through all of this programming, all of our beliefs, all of our emotions, our trauma, our past events, right? And then what do? We take this picture, we delete, generalize, and distort it to match what's in this reticular activating system. And then we take a new picture after it's been deleted, generalized, and distorted. And that's what goes back to the conscious mind, and that's what's called truth. That's what we call the truth, only after it's filtered, right? And that's why you can go into a conference with a bunch of people, same conference, same speaker, you and the person sitting next to you, and you come out having completely different experiences because you each filtered what was being said through your reticular activating system. Or you can have a conversation with someone, which how many times does this happen, right? Your husband or your manager or whoever, and you both are talking about the same thing. I mean, you're saying it as clear as you possibly can, but they're not hearing what you're saying, right? Like, can't you just hear me? There's no way I can speak any more clearly than what I'm speaking. Why? Because it's filtered through their own reticular activating system with their own programming, with their own beliefs. And so is yours. You can be saying the same exact thing and not hear each other at all because of what's being filtered through your unconscious mind and then presented to the frontal lobe as a new distorted truth. So how do we fix this? I can tell you that I have tried my entire life to fix what was going on inside of me. I've tried my entire life to figure out a way to stop these repeated patterns. And when I finally found that I needed healing, I was ready. You have to be ready. You have to be ready because what it takes to confront what caused you to have those belief systems in the first place takes a lot of courage, because it can be really painful. You have to be ready. You have to give yourself grace, right? And understand that your patterns and what you've been doing over and over and over again happen on a subconscious level. But at the end of the day, what was your brain doing? It was just trying to keep you safe, right? You have to give yourself a lot of grace and a lot of permission to heal, which is what you truly deserve. The healing that we truly want. So I went through, I'll tell you where I didn't find it. I've looked many, many years, right? I didn't find it in the medical system. I can tell you that I've been prescribed a lot of medicine that help treat the symptoms, just like a Tylenol with a fever, y'all, right? I've been on anxiety medication. I've been on depression medicine. I can give you a big long list of different medicines since I was, 12 years old. Did it ever fix what was underlying? It always came up, right? It always came to the surface. I've been in therapy most of my life. I've tried all different types of modalities. EMDR, hypnosis, coaches, right? Before I found my healing, I was all into mindset and affirmations every day. And I hit the ground running when it came to that. Every book on the market I read, right? And when I finished all of that and all these programs and my therapy, and I was like, yes, I'm good. I'm great. I believe in myself. I'm going to get out there and start this business, or I'm going to be a better person and not repeat the pattern of these toxic relationships that I've been in my entire life. I'm going to heal from this relationship, and I'm never going to go back to that type of man again. And that's great, right? I'm worthy. I'm good enough for that. I'm worthy of love. And I would leave and say, yes, that's my truth. That's my truth. But the problem is that like 2 weeks after, all of that information is going to be processed through my reticular activating system. And what actually happens is it's going to tell me what's truth or not, right? But what's in there? I deserve to be punished. I'm not good enough. And all the events and experiences to back that up. So it's pretty much going to tell me you're full of it. Like whatever you just paid all that money for to learn that you're worthy and you're good enough and you're going to have this successful business and et cetera, et cetera. It went through my reticular activating system, which listed out everything I've ever done in my life to prove that I deserve to be punished, and said that that was all BS. And I'm back where I started. Right. And sometimes, most of my life, how did I do it? I did it with willpower, right? I mean, I would pull my bootstraps up and I would just head down and keep running. And it's great. I got far. I mean, I'm still here with you today, right? But all that willpower is exhausting. And you can show up every day without willpower, but eventually your body's going to give out, your adrenals are going to overload. There's an easier way. There is an easier way. I am here to tell you. And I'm still blown away by these tools that I use in my program, in my own healing. I searched years and years and years for this answer, years and years and years. It finally got to the root, to the core. But regardless of whether you're going to sign up for my program or not, what I'm here doing with you today, and I will be the next couple of months every Monday, I'm going to show up and I'm going to give you tools that give you the knowledge, of how your brain works. Because I can tell you that no one teaches us this. It took me a long time to find this. You deserve to have that knowledge. And you deserve to know that your emotions, your depression, your feeling of anxiety, right? I was medicated for most of that, my entire nursing career. It doesn't mean that you're sick, and it doesn't mean that you're broken. All it means is that you don't know how to work this to be able to process emotions. You've never been taught. So what happens if we do nothing? What happens if we don't take care of this trauma and we don't address our subconscious mind and we just keep moving forward in life? What happens is the repeated patterns of behavior, right? You're going to jump on that hamster wheel and you're just going to keep spinning in place. So in my reticular activating system, what showed up for me, what's shown up through my programming and my beliefs, is I deserve to be punished. I'm not good enough, right? People aren't safe. If you really knew me, then you'll leave me and reject me. People are always going to die and leave me, right? And so as I held all these beliefs and I was just living life, what did I develop? I developed a lot of numbing techniques. And for me, in order to stay numb, I had to be really, really busy. I packed on the 12s, right? I mean, how many nurses can say that they haven't taken advantage of one shift after another? Every time the doors were open, I was there. They didn't have staff, I was there. Every Christmas, every single holiday, I was there. Because if I was working, then I was distracted and I didn't have this downtime to actually allow my thoughts to come to the surface or the emotions to come to the surface, right? I remember going on vacation and I was at work and it was busy. I mean, it's trauma, it's crazy. And all I'd ever say is, I can't wait till I get a vacation. And then guess what? I go on my vacation and I feel like there's ants crawling under my skin. I can't wait to get back to work because I finally stopped and all of this stuff is rising to the surface, right? So I did everything I could to numb the pain that was underneath, right? And coping mechanisms. I did everything I could to be worthy, to be good enough. I studied the hardest. I created worthiness through being the best at what I did, success and more money. And I wanted control so bad. So I went through anorexia and bulimia and tried to lose weight so that I had control over something, because I guarantee you I had no control over what was going on inside of me. I was grasping for some sense of control. And when you don't have control over what's going on inside of you, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. Especially whenever people aren't safe, right? And they're going to leave me. They're going to leave me anyway. So what did I do? I created this fortress, like 10 walls thick, because people are going to hurt me. And so I created this huge fortress that pushed everyone out that ever loved me. And no one could get in, but guess what? I couldn't get out either. The unconscious mind, this is what happens when our belief systems rule our life. But you know what the beauty is, which is why I'm here with you today, is it doesn't have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. The environment that I created for myself, right? Always finding men who were horrible to me, these toxic relationships, the isolation over and over and over again. No matter what I tried, I would end up in these places, these patterns. But these patterns only happen if you do not know how to control this. You can stop these patterns. I'm going to be here with you the next couple months, and my mission is to help support you in every way I possibly can to give you the information in learning how to work your brain. You are worthy of that. You deserve that. So I'll tell you, because of my belief systems, because of the way I deleted, generalized, and distorted information, if there was an opportunity for me to be successful, right, in the way of business, in the way of anything, if there was a job opportunity for me to get away from bedside and move to management, I don't care what it is, you name it, for me to better my life, and someone came to me and it's like, you're perfect for this position, this is what this is going to do for you, it always ended in self-sabotage, right? Because my unconscious mind automatically deleted that information. It went through that belief system, I deserve to be punished. And so guess what never came to fruition? That opportunity. It's the same thing with my toxic relationships with men. If I met a man that was nice and respectful and kind to me, my brain automatically deleted it. And I wanted nothing to do with them. There was no way I was ever going to be able to receive that because it wasn't true. It was filtered through my reticular activating system, and it never came through to my frontal lobe for me to even be able to see the opportunity or to see this amazing man I could have a relationship with, right? And so I defaulted back into my patterns of toxic relationships and the self-sabotage of never taking hold of any opportunity. I was stuck. And where is the choice in that? There is no choice. If you want to change, you're going to have to fix what's been programmed into your unconscious mind, or you will repeat it. You can try to make boundaries. You can try to get out of the toxic relationships. You could start your day with determination and willpower and affirmations and do all the things, right? But you're always going to go back to the reticular activating system, always. And no one can fix this except for you. And yes, and so will your kids. That's another thing, right? Your patterns will be handed down to your children. This is generational. Everything through your generations. Alcoholism, abuse, feeling unlovable, all of that is going to continue the pattern down through the generations. You just hand it to your kids unless you choose to say no more. I I stop that today. I break those chains. It stops with me. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to do that, but it's possible. No one else can fix this except for you. And this is one of the things I love the most about the tools I use in my program, is because you heal you. I don't do anything for you. You heal you. You give yourself this clear space in your unconscious mind, so you're no longer playing by everyone else's playbook. You create this clear space so that you can truly know yourself, know what you want. That was a huge one, right? Whenever I started looking inward for the first time ever, I had no idea who I was. I'm Natalie. I'm an RN. That's all you got from me. That's all I knew. That was my identity. Everything I had was wrapped up into this identity of being a nurse, when there's so much more. It's just a role we play. You are so much more. But when you can clear this space in your unconscious mind, you can actually figure out what you want, and not what your programming says that you want, not what the world says you want, not who the world says that you are. Right? So you can trust yourself. I didn't even know what that meant whenever I started my healing journey. Trust myself. What are you talking about? Right? Whenever I second guess everything that I ever did, and I couldn't make a decision in my life without asking someone, what do you think about this? Should I do this? I don't know. Right? Being able to trust yourself and be your most authentic self. The confidence, standing in your own truth, and knowing your truth and knowing your worth without worrying about what anyone else says or thinks. I guarantee you I wouldn't be on here with this vulnerability. I could have never done this. No one ever got to know who I really was, including myself, because it wasn't safe. Right? I built that huge fortress. No one could get in, and I couldn't get out. But I created my own safe space. And that shifted my entire life. This is freedom. Being free from all the lies that you've been operating on for most of your life. Right? Most of our belief systems were created by the time that we were 7 years old. It's a long time to be living out those belief systems. This is true freedom. Being able to make the choice, right? Not the repeated patterns that our subconscious mind is making under the surface. And we're just like, I don't know why I keep doing this and this and this over and over and over again. And then you watch your children do it after you've done it and said, don't do what I do. Right? Having the healing and the self-love and the self-trust and the confidence and the peace, guys, the peace. Wow. Again, I didn't even know what that word meant. There was always a war going on underneath the surface, always. This is the only place that you can serve from. This is the only place. You know, burnout, we wonder why we have burnout. And I'll get into more of this when we talk about emotions next week, but yelling at your kids, this rage, these emotions that are just taking over your life, right? Our job is to create the environment within ourselves to come to the world to serve as caretakers. But it starts with us, and we cannot come from an empty place to serve. Ooh, I got to talking and it is over 30 minutes. I'm going to try to keep these to 30 minutes, y'all, to honor your time. But more is coming next week. We're going to break down the reticular activating system. We're going to talk about, what does that look like? What does it mean? What does trauma create? I have so much more for you. Thank you so much for showing up, and I will see you next week.